Okay guys, so I think we're going to move to the swing arm now and determine what I'm going to do here. So this swing arm is anodized. That keeps the aluminum protected. I could remove the anodizing by sending it in and having it bead blasted. But then I got to figure out a way to protect it after that. To get this re-anodized, I'd be looking at about 250 bucks, which is just not feasible when I'm trying to keep the budget down on this bike and be able to sell it off and recover my costs. This bike is being built to ride. It's not being built to be a garage queen. So I'm not too worried about having everything look like the day it rolled out of the factory. Okay, so let's get these bearings removed from the front. We'll strip off the decals and then we will install the new bearings, put the new decals on, and then have a look at it after that. Alright, so to get these bearings out, I have a tusk tool here. This can be done in another way as well. You can use sockets, and we may have to use a combination of sockets and this tool to get this out anyway. And what you do is you find the appropriate adapter that will push this bearing out, okay? And this should be able to slide right into the bearing. Now this one has the center still in it, so we need to get that out first. Now I should be able to just hammer that out with a punch. Now looking at how bad these bushings and bearings are, this may actually be quite a challenge for this tool right here. If you have a look at it, you can see I've already bent this at one point. Alright, so now that we found our proper size adapter, simply insert it like that. Okay, so now you can put another one of these on this side. You put these two guys over here. And you put the nut on. Now this would have been a good time for me to leave my impact on. Because in this case, it probably would come in handy. But we'll see if my little guy can handle it. Okay, it sounds like it's tightening up. So let's back this up. And what's probably happened now is the bearing on this side is pressing up against this. And let's see there. It's hard to tell. So I'm going to get a socket now. First bearing is almost out. Now this should be enough to get both of these out. I'll have to take it apart once I get the first one out, just to get it out of the end of my socket. Alright, I'm just going to turn the compressor off for a minute because I want to show you guys something. This inner one is actually a plastic bushing. I've never seen that before. But yeah, the inside one is a bushing. I can see metal on here now, so I know that the outer one is an actual bearing with needle rollers in it. And that would be it. We are there. So that is how you go about removing your bearings with your Tusk bearing installer with just the simple addition of a socket that size. Now, all right, so now we're going to move over to the other side, remove those bearings. Then we will remove the decals. We'll clean it up the best that we can with an SOS pad, apply the new decals, and install the new bearings. Sometimes these come off easy. You can literally just peel them off by hand. And in this case, they are not. So what we're going to be doing is using a razor blade. What we're going to do is, as we heat this up, we're just going to slide this along very gently underneath the decal and peel it off. I've got a little bit of a residual of the decal glue on it. What I like to do is spray it with WD-40, which almost loosens it all up just by it sitting on there. Then just take a Scotch-Brite pad and very gently go over the top. Now I don't want to go too hard because I don't want to remove any of the anodizing here. All I'm trying to do is just get that little bit of residual glue off of there. So we've got both surfaces cleaned up now with solvent, so we don't have to worry about anything being on there that won't allow the decals to adhere. So I got these out of Europe. EvoMX.com is where they came from. Okay, so in most cases, unless you've measured out where your decal was on the frame before, it can be challenging to get it perfectly where it was. Fortunately, there's still a bit of shadow from where the anodizing faded on here, and I can see exactly where this decal is going to go. My only challenge is going to be ensuring that I get it in the correct location up and down. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to make sure that my shadow, I can see the fading there, there, and there. So this decal is just slightly shorter than the original. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to the back here where I've got that bit of a shadow and bring it ahead ever so slightly. Try and match it up and down. That is looking pretty good right there. And that's where we're going to go with it. All right, that looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to heat it up a little bit and make sure that that glue underneath has gotten nice and tacky. Alright, that's it for that side. Let's move over to the other side. So on this side here, I do not see the same anodizing fading that I had on the other side, which doesn't give me a location where to put this decal. I might see a hint of it at the front, but nothing really towards the back. So what I'm going to do is just measure up from here to the edge right there and just give myself a little mark as to where I'm going to start this one. Okay, so we are exactly 3.5. Just going to use a regular pencil. Three and a half. And I think that looks pretty good. All right, that wraps up the installation of the decals on the swing arm. They look really good. All right, so we got our new all balls swing arm bearing kit here. Oh, there we go. Normally these things just pop right open, but this one did not want to open up. Okay, so we've got, I don't know what those are for. It looks like this kit is, oh, look at that. I was mistaken. Huh. Okay, well, we've got all kinds of things here that I do not remember removing from the original one. So we are still using plastic bushings. There they are right there. Those are for the inside. Then we've got our regular steel bearings. Then they provided two copper washers. Then I got two more washers there and two more washers there. Then we've got what looks to be the inner seals, and these ones here are the outer seals, which I might be in a bit of trouble, guys, because I think I threw away something that I'm going to need. Son of a gun. The caps that go over top of the outside, the new kit that you get only comes with the seal that goes inside the cap. Oh, this is not good, because I'm pretty much positive I do not have those caps. Where the heck am I going to get myself a set of those? All right, let's have a look at the parts bin over here, guys, and see if I actually saved those. Something tells me I did not. That really concerns me. It's not something I typically would have saved because they usually come with the new kit on most spikes, and on this bike they did not. Not good. Crossing my fingers, I'm going to find them in the bottom of this bin. I also have another bin outside that I can have a look in. That is all of the engine mounts, nuts and bolts, nothing in there. That is the fork bolts. We've got the engine bearings. Well, we might as well get that out because we're going to need to do the bearings in that one. But I'm at the bottom of the bin, guys, and whoa, what do you know? Holy cow, I can't believe that they're on there. So there's the swing arm bolt, guys, and look at that. I actually did save these caps. That is amazing because, like I said, normally these caps and seals come with a new kit, and they did not in this case, so I am so happy to find those. Let's get them off of the bolt here and get those all cleaned up. I am so happy that I did not get rid of these. Gosh, that makes me so happy. Okay, so first thing I'm going to have to do is it's looking inside of here, I think I now know what these things here are for. I think what they are is they almost act like a bushing or a bearing, and you lubricate them. I'm thinking you get one of these brass ones, or sorry, copper, that goes in between the two white ones. I've never seen anything like this. So first we're going to get the seal out. This one here is bent up quite a bit. I'm going to have to straighten that one out. So let's just move on. Well, this one's bent too, but let's pull the seal out. Here, let's get you guys closer. It's kind of weird. I've never seen anything like this. So let's get this out, and now there they are. That's what I, oh wow, look at that. They are a bearing. And then have a look at that. It's got needle rollers in it. Oh, Yamaha had lots of innovations back in the day. Okay, so without having bearings in it, I can see that this one does not. Let's see, what does it say? Oh no, it doesn't. So this kit has been upgraded to use a POM coated thrust washer which outlasts a thrust needle bearing in corrosive environments. Face the yellow side out between the supplied washers. So there's the supplied washers. They go on either side, and the yellow side goes out. Wow. Kind of strange though. I mean, the whole idea behind your bushing or your inner bearing race, if you want to call it that, is that it should tighten up against your swing or your engine case and your frame. And then what that does is it allows the swing arm to pivot just on the bearings and the bushings. But in this case, they put a plastic bushing towards the inside, and then these covers with these needle bearings on the outside. That is so interesting. Never seen anything like that before. Okay, well, let's get this inside washer out of here, or outer race, whatever you'd want to call it, for these thrust bearings. Clean these two caps up so we can get back to assembling the new bearings into the swing arm. So now what we're going to do is we're going to install the bearings on this. I'm not going to use my vise to put these in. Before I get to that, let's have a look at one more piece that I found. So I'm really lucky that when I was taking things apart, I really had a good look at everything that came apart in those two outside thrust caps, is what they're called. And that's what that bearing was, inside a thrust washer. This here is a shim. And I'm not exactly sure what this shim does, because it is, I don't even know what size it is, but it's just a little bit thicker than paper. I mean, it might actually be paper thin. I'm not sure what the purpose of that shim is, but it is required on the drive side of the bike. So I'm glad that I found that, and I didn't miss that piece when I went to assemble everything, because I would imagine it's fairly important. I mean, if Yamaha designed it that way, they must have had a reason for it. So, all right, so what we're going to do is just install these bearings. We're going to use my Tusk bearing installer remover tool that we just used to take this all apart. Take off all my spacers and find the right adapter to install these. Now, what the adapter does is it goes inside these bearings. Now, these bearings have a cage inside of them, not like some of the older ones where it was just needle rollers all the way around. This one actually has a cage, so they're not going to fall out. And what you want to do Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got a problem. These bearings are not the right size. There's no way that those bearings will press into that swing arm. Not a chance. They are not even close. So what happened here? 1982 YZ490. So I'm gonna have to find out where I got these bearings, guys, and I'm gonna have to let them know that I ordered 1983. That just put a hold on the project right there until I can get new bearings. I'll probably have to go through Fortnite. Hopefully they have them. This is very disappointing. I was really looking forward to getting this done. And yeah, that puts a halt on it right there. Not the right bearings. Wow. Alright guys, so some great news. I know earlier in the video I said that unfortunately I got the wrong bearings for this swing arm. They were labeled incorrectly from the seller on eBay. I contacted the seller about this, and his reply was that he could give me 10% off on my next order, not give me a refund or anything on those bearings. Very disappointed in that, because I'm sure that his profit margin is higher than 10%. And the rate of exchange for Canadian to US is like 30%. Yeah, so not going to get any money back on those bearings that were labeled incorrectly on the eBay site, but I will probably not make any more purchases from that supplier. I was able to find some bearings in Canada at revco.ca. He had one set there. I was a little bit worried because there was some mixed reviews on Google about his site, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to order them anyway. I don't really have much of a choice. I got them in 3 days. That is the fastest shipping I've ever had on anything that I've ordered, and it came all the way from the other side of Canada to here. So if you've ever heard of revco.ca and you're worried about ordering from him, I would not hesitate to order anything from him. I got what I had ordered, and I got it in a very quick time. All right, so let's get back at the swing arm before we move on to the next project, which will be the forks, and get these installed. And that buttons up the entire rear suspension of the YZ490. Okay, let's have a look inside, make sure everything is here. I have not opened this at all yet. Hopefully I can get it open. Man, these plastic containers, sometimes they get a little bit carried away on how they secure them. Okay, so first thing off, it came with the shim. That shim I was talking about, that's fantastic. You know what, I'm not even going to open the rest of this up. I'm just going to pour it all out of here. And let's have a look at what we got. Okay, so we got our new seals for our caps. We got our 2 plastic bushings for the insides. Got our inner seals, our new bearings, our new bushings, and those new thrust bearings. Perfect. We got everything we need. So let's get at it. Well, what I really want to do right now is just pop open these bearings and have a look at it and make sure that it is going to fit. Let's have a look. And yes, they are the right size. Okay, so now we're going to install the bearings. Now this one here, you can still see inside where the outside ridge of the bearing was. You can see right inside there, it's got a bit of a mark that goes around it. And if you look down even further to the other side, you can see where the plastic bushing was. So that's a nice indicator as to where the bearing is going to be installed. You kind of need to know that distance. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what distance the manufacturer has determined that they want their bearing and bushing to be installed at. Everyone's probably a little bit different, but I've got that clear indicator in there as to what it is. So I'm just going to take my calipers, slide the little rod out the side, down to where it goes. So it's about a 6.17. It's probably a 6 would be my guess. Yeah, so 6 millimeters. Now what I'm going to do is the same thing over here on my installation tool. I'm going to put my tape. Okay, so now I have a clear indicator on my installation tool as to where I want to stop it as I'm installing the bearing. As I come down and I'm installing the bearing, as soon as my tape gets to that point right there is where I'm going to stop. And that should hopefully get my bearing right to the location that it needs to be on the inside. Alright, so we are going to put a little bit of grease inside here for inserting this bearing in. Doesn't need to be a lot because it literally just pushes it and squishes it all the way out. Alright, so this part here is just like the way that I took the bearings out. I've put in spacers to take up the distance of the threaded rod. Now I'm just going to hold the bottom one and crank on the top one. You just want to make sure that your bearing is going in straight. Now we're just going to keep a close eye on that tape, and we're going to stop it as soon as it gets to the edge of that swing arm right there. Now, not that it's a huge deal, but I'm just going to check my distance and see how close I got with my tape there. Now I was at 6. Six is what I'm looking for. Yeah, not too bad. Came out at 6.24, which is fine. There's not a problem with that. Let's flip it over to the other side. And now we're going to install the plastic bushing. All right, so now we can go ahead and install the inside seals. All right, so now that we got the bearings installed in the swing arm and the inner seals on the bushing side, we're going to move on to installing these thrust washers into the caps for the outside. Now you got 2 copper ones, and they've got a special plastic on the outside of them that acts like a bearing, and then you've got 4 of these other ones. We're going to put a bit of grease on them, and then we're going to put them inside. One of these caps is for the drive side, the other one is for the non-drive side. That is where this guy right here comes into play, and this goes to the drive side. So you need to make sure you remember which side that is. Yeah, and it simply just drops right into the bottom of this cap, like that. That is your shim. I have no idea why that's in there. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research, but nevertheless, Yamaha has decided that it is required for that side. So now we're going to put some grease on our bearings. Then we just simply put one on one side of the bearing, one on the other, and then it drops right down inside this cap. And then this seal here, you have to make sure that you've got this seal in the right way. If you look on the inside of the seal, it's got a deeper ridge than on the back side over here. This deeper ridge needs to be facing up. It's what actually goes over top of the outside of the swing arm. So we're just gonna put that in there, like so. I've already greased the caps up, so I don't need to worry about putting any more grease in there. Okay, with the caps finished, we can go ahead and grease up the inside of these bearings. Now, in between the bearing and the plastic bushing on the other side, there's a gap. Fill that gap with grease. That way, if the bearings or bushings are in need of lubrication, they have somewhere that they can get it from. You've got the extra grease in there. All right, we got plenty of grease in there now. Now we can get out our bushings, which is basically the inside race of the bearing, and insert them. Now when you're putting your caps on, don't forget which one you had the shim in. In this case, I had the one that was not as bent as the other one. This one here is the bent one. It does not have the shim in it. The shim is actually in this one that's a lot straighter, and it's going to go on the drive side. All right, so here we have the linkage bearing set and seal kit. Now this one definitely is for an 83 YZ490, so let's open it up and have a look at what we got in here. Gosh, it's been so long since I ordered these parts. It's been an entire year since I ordered all of this stuff, and I'm opening it now for the first time. Now what I'm going to do to put these bearings in is, I don't have the right size adapter for this, obviously. These tools here are for your swing arm. So I'm just going to have to press these in as is. I'm just going to use my vise, and then I'll use a socket to center it. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use two sockets. And this is going to work something like the tusk tool. This here is a 12 mil socket, and I'm going to slide it right inside there like that to keep all of those rollers from moving around or dropping out. We're going to get this started, pretty easy to get it started in there a little bit. Then we are simply going to squeeze it together with another socket on this side. Get that lined up perfectly all the way around the outside of that bearing. And just start to press it in there. Yeah, we're going to stop right there and we're just going to turn this socket around now. And there we go. We've got it pretty much even on both sides. And we didn't bend the outer race in any way. We had that socket in there to keep the pins all in the proper locations and from falling out. This one here is going to be exactly the same procedure, but I'm able to use my tusk tool. I'm just going to get it started here by giving it a tap. All right, so I got my calipers. Let's just check at what distance we've got. All right, so I got 8.25 on one side and 8.25 on the other side. So we are perfect. That concludes the installation of the bearing. Okay, so now all we got to do is install the seals. Now you should not have to drive your seals in. These ones here should push in no problem. Work your way all the way around. Make sure that they go in evenly. Just push them in far enough that they're flush with the outside. On some bikes, the seals, when you put them in, they actually bottom out. These ones here, there's still some space between the seal and the bearing. But the reason that we're not going to push these seals too far in is we want that area between the seal and the bearing to be packed with grease. You can see that there's a bit of a space between the seal and the bearing. And we're just going to fill that entire gap up with grease. Now we can go about installing the bushing, making sure that we don't push any pins out here. And this one over here. And I'm just going to show you. So that's, the bushings are both in all the way, and you can see that you've got a gap on either side. Now if you would push the seals all the way down inside, you would have a very large open area in there for dirt and debris to get in, and then as this turns it would slowly destroy the seal. This way you've got your seal flush out here. You will get some debris in here, but it's easily washed out. Okay, let's move on to this part here. This part here is real simple. All we got to do is pack it with grease, as the caps have their own built-in seal on them. So something I may have forgot to mention earlier when you're pressing your bearings in is these needle bearings come with a flat side on one side and a round side on the other side. Now I'm not sure if all of them are like that, but the label, brand label, and the size is usually indicated on the flat side, and that side is the side that you want to use to push your bearing in. It's designed to take the load, where the rounded side on the other side is not, and it will kind of flatten out and then not allow your rollers to roll around inside there. All right, so we got those greased up real well. I'm just going to put grease all the way around where the outside cap, dust cap seal is going to go. You want those to go on nice and easy. Plus you want to have some grease in there anyway, which acts as more of a barrier for your dirt. Anytime you're putting a rubber seal on, you kind of want to have a bit of grease or oil applied to it. All right, and that finishes that off. Just slide these caps right on now. You want to be careful. Sometimes you can mushroom the seal over. Watch for it when you're putting them on, that doesn't happen. You can actually damage the seal. So you might want to just kind of turn it a bit when you're first starting it on there. These ones here are popping on fairly easy. I've had others that did not go on so nice. And that's it for that one. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the rear suspension for the YZ490. The next video should probably be the teardown of the forks. I haven't received any bolts yet to be able to install anything on the frame, so we're just going to keep moving on with rebuilding and restoring the rest of the parts until those bolts get here. I want to thank you all for coming out and watching my videos. Please share with your friends, leave some comments, and I'll catch you all next video.